Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview with Preston, which is this Friday. Before we get into it with Ollie from the Butter Pie podcast, so we'll get him on shortly. Just to do, please remember where you can find us. You can find us on X or Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I do a TikTok live, so that's good as well. We're on YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. I think we're about 12 subscribers away from 400, which would be amazing. So if you do follow us or you don't subscribe, it is free. So please go and like and subscribe. You can also find us on podcasts, so Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere where you can get your podcasts from. We're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar, and we're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo is in the corner over there somewhere. He can do all your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Warwickshire and Coventry area. So if you do need any fabrication doing for steel beams, box section angles, things like that, here's the man to go to. We can pass your details on if you message us. So as always, let me bring in my co-host, Mark. Good evening, Mark. You okay?
Yes, hi Stuart. Good evening, everyone. Yep, good, thanks.
Good. And from the Butter Pie podcast, Ollie. Good evening, Ollie.
Good evening, Stuart and Mark. How are we?
Yeah, good.
All
thanks,
right,
Ollie.
mate. Thank you. Very well. So before we dive deep into the game, can you just let us know, Ollie, what you guys do and where we can find you?
Yeah, so we're a Preston North End related podcast, obviously. The Butter Pie podcast probably swerves you off and you think you're talking about food, but it is a Preston North End podcast. You can find us on Instagram, but mainly on Twitter at the Butter Pie Pod, and then on all your reputable streaming sites of Spotify podcasts. So if there's any Coventry fans wanting to listen, if you beat us Friday night, I'm sure early next week you might have some salty words from the Butter Pie podcast. So if you wanted to give it a nice little listen to start off your week going there, then that's the place to find us.
Fantastic. So let's dive straight into it. Unfortunately, the last game that we had, you guys won 3-2. Going into that game, can you remember much about it? Because it was a while ago, to be fair. How was your feeling going into that game?
To be fair, I don't remember honestly much of it, but every time we go into a game against Coventry, they're always well structured in the way that they are. You've always got a idea of how you want to play, and you stick to it. Even if it works or even if it doesn't work, playing out from the back. And to be fair, as a North End fan watching Coventry, it's like light and day. We play sometimes you would say crap footy, whereas Coventry is a lot better on the eye. So the expectations are it's usually always a tight affair against Norwich. Not against Coventry. I don't know why I said Norwich like in North End. Coventry and North End. I remember, I think it was a couple of seasons ago, I think it was at the Rico, where a couple of fans ran onto the pitch when we were about to take a penalty. I can't think if we scored it or not, and I think it off-put us or something. And there's quite a lot of beef in the beef on social media from it. But it's always a tough game against Coventry. They're well set up. I mean, I'm going to go there realistically not so optimistic.
Okay.
I do expect Coventry to have a lot of the ball, and it's whether or not North End have the ability to exploit it on the counter.
Okay, well, that's quite interesting because I think me and Mark in a minute are very much going to talk about the fact that we just can't seem to win. It's 12 games where we haven't won a game. I think the last game that we won was 3-2 in the Johnson's Paint Trophy back in 2013. So it's a long time. And then before that, I think you've got to go 8 games previous, and we won 1, and then it's another 6 games, and then we another one. It just seems like we can't beat you, and it's really frustrating. Mark, it is frustrating against Preston, isn't it? When we play them, they're always close games. How are you feeling about the last game, the 3-2 loss, and how are you feeling going into this one?
Yeah, I think we can't forget about that side of it. It is what it is. It's just a game. We've got to win. We've got to stop going on about the past and look to the future. And if we get a win against Preston, that puts a bit more daylight between us and them. We get back in the playoffs, although more than likely we'll drop out of the playoffs after Saturday's games. But it's a good opportunity to beat Preston at home. Looking back to the previous game, it was a tight game. I think we scored first with Haji Wright, which looks a bit of a contentious offside goal, but we'll take that all day long. I think Anthony Taylor's refereeing that game, and he sent off Carl McFadden, who brought down. I can't remember who the Preston player was. It could have been Liam Miller for all I know. I can't remember, but I think
it was Osmaic. Yeah, I think it was Osmaic when he was taking the shot. Yeah.
So. It was frustrating. It was always an uphill battle after that. I thought in fairness, we battled hard. We didn't play badly. I think it was a tight. We were playing Preston at a time when we couldn't really buy a win anyway,
right.
Irrespective of what the past encounters against Preston. So, but one thing we did learn from the game, one good key takeaway was the fact that we did. I think in the second half, Robbins did change the formation. If you may remember, he switched it from a 3-5 or a 3-4-1-2 to a more like a 4-3-3, 4-5-1 sort of formation, depending on how you see it. But I think we looked a better side, and I think that's the one thing. One good positive from the game was we looked a better side second half. But yeah, look, I mean, generally against Preston, it's always tough games. Yes, the record isn't great against them, but look, they've got to be beaten at some point. Hopefully, they'll be beaten on Friday and. Looking forward, but yeah, look, Preston are a good side. They're up there for a reason, and they've had some good wins this season. I think that I saw them against Leeds on Boxing Day, and I thought they were very, very good, and they deserved the win. So, but they're not going to be easy side to beat. I know Ollie's sort of saying it, he's not looking forward to it, but I'm not under any illusions. It's going to be a hard game, like any game in the Championship.
Yeah, definitely is. I don't like to say must-win games, but it's kind of feeling a little bit like that, really, just because everybody's just so condensed, from 5th, really, West Brom, down to about, 10th, something like that, yeah. I think it is.
Yeah, I think all of us on this chat would agree on is the fact that the results last night didn't really go in any of our favours because West Brom won and Hull won. So they've got a 3-point gap to us, and I think 4 or 5 points to Preston. So it's a game that both teams really need the points. Really, I don't think the draw is a good result for either team going ahead of this game. So it's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, totally agree. Ollie, just looking at a little bit of your home form and your away form, I say lucky for us. You've lost more away than you've won. So coming to the CBS arena, hopefully, since we've got quite good home form, I think we've only lost. Have we not? I think we haven't lost at home yet, have we? Since the new year, turn of the new year. Now, I've also noticed. Go and look past your past 4 games. You've played 4 different formations. So we don't really know what formation you're going to play. Is that a tactic that he does, that he sets up his team against a certain team, or what does he do? What does Ryan Lowe do?
I think it's funny that you say that, actually, because before these past couple of games where we have started picking up results, he was kind of chopping and changing the formation and the plays. It was a bit of like a roulette at some point because, as you mentioned before, like Coventry, we couldn't buy a win. I think it was like 5 wins in 23 games, which is abysmal form. But obviously, these past five games we've perked up. I think we're starting to find a system where we're able to get our best players on the pitch at once and be most effective. So, albeit I think I know what we'll be playing, but it kind of alternates throughout the game. You know, it can go from 5 at the back to a five at the back. It can go into a 3 back, but also ones that we go around because we play a left centre back, left back, a full back at left centre back, so we can quite easily go down to a back 4, which can be seen in games where we go 4-1-4-1. So you know, I think we found a system now where we're able to easily alternate the way that we play. And I think that's probably what he's used to his advantage in the past couple of games. To be fair, he's needed to. And fair play to him, he's got his spot on. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect North End to be sticking to a certain structure on Friday night. I'd expect us to probably alternate to whichever's going to fit us best against how Coventry set out to play, whether that's more in the middle of the park. We'll probably be bunched together and do a 4-1-4-1. If you're trying to exploit the wings, we'll probably play more of a 5 back. So it totally depends on how Coventry set up and how we try to nullify them to be able to give us the best chance on the counter attack.
Okay, Mark, any questions at the moment?
Which players do you feel could cause Coventry problems ahead of this game that you're looking forward to seeing on Friday?
Liam Miller and Mads Frocke Jensen.
Yeah,
Mads Frocke Jensen's been superb. We brought him in the summer. I know we're going to go on to mention about the summer transfer windows, but brought him in from Denmark. And when he first came onto the scene, we're like, what a player we've got here. You know, fantastic. And then for the last about 10 to 15 games, he's hardly got a sniff. And fans probably didn't know why. And he's found himself within the team now, and he's really proven himself. He's kind of got that confidence of the start of the season, and he's got more confidence in the being like, I'm here. I'm here to stay. I know I'm going to be playing week in, week out now, and he's flourishing. It may seem like he's out of the game at some point, but Ryan Lowe mentioned that he needed a maverick and a type of player who can make something out of nothing. And that's what we got in Mads Frocke Jensen. And then obviously you got Liam Miller on the wing, who ain't too bad of a player as well. So we've got a couple of players who can make something out of nothing, which is a bit of a different side to Preston North End compared to other seasons. So yeah, looking forward to seeing them two play.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned about the players, and in the summer you had 17 out and you bought 10 in. Obviously, you've mentioned one of them already, but you also brought in Will Keane, Dwayne Holmes. Obviously, we'll talk about injuries and suspensions, but I believe Dwayne Holmes is still out injured, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he'll be missing for the Coventry game. He was a part of the squad, I think, going back 2 games, but he pulled up during the warm-ups with a niggle in his knee. So I think he's out for about 2 to 3 weeks. So he'll definitely miss the game on Friday night. And then probably games after that as well.
Okay. Is there anybody, obviously, apart from the people that you've just mentioned, how's Will King settled in? Has he been okay? And is there anybody else that we need to watch out for?
Yeah. To be fair, Will Keane's done superbly. Brought him in for, I think it was about £40,000 from Wigan. He's top goal scorer. To be fair, he's probably been a bit lucky with some of the goals. A couple of them have been deflections. But, as a goal scorer, everything counts. He gets his shots off when needs be. Seems to always be there when you need to. And I think he's really started to build a partnership up top with Emil Rees, who's probably another one to watch out for. He was out for 16 months with an ACL injury. So he's really took his time to get back. He's now come back and scored 3 and 3 and looks better than what he did prior to his injury. So yeah, really looking forward to how that's working out. The one, to be fair, the players that I'd mentioned to look out for are all attacking players. I think we're very strong in the final third. Going into our final third, however, in our defence is where we're starting to struggle. I don't think our defence is quite up to scratch, and there probably needs to be improvement come summertime. I'm fully expecting us to be in the Championship anyway. So if we're able to keep the way that the front final third's going for us and manage to sort out the back end, I think we'll be maybe a little dark horse next season, but not this season.
Okay, well, that's quite weird because normally, for the past 2 seasons, really, Preston at the back, you concede next to nothing and you can't really score. So it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's probably also a bit the manager as well, because he's coming with the squad, and you coming up from League One's a bit of a jump. It is a massive jump to the Championship. And I think he went very conservative with the way he played, and he's probably put more defensive-minded people on the pitch than needs be, and that's why you probably saw next to no goals conceded, but then you've got no goals scored, and you can't win football matches if you don't score. Yeah. So I think he's been forced to kind of play a few more attacking players, and then obviously you leave the defenders a bit more isolated, and you see how actually good they are as defenders. I think we've had to go for it recently, especially when we're needing to pick up some wins in the previous 5 games, and it seemed to work, so it's kind of stuck. So I think a more attacking approach, albeit counter-attacking, where we get a lot more players forward, is probably the approach that we stick by.
Yeah, obviously, Mark, our last game that we had, we beat Stoke 1-0. Sakamoto was out with illness. Haji Wright, for me, I went to the game. For me, Haji Wright didn't have his best games. He seemed kind of off it a little bit. Ellis Sims scored for us. O'Hare was back. He looked okay. Talk went off with an injury at half-time, so that's a disappointing one as well, really, with Sheaf being out as well. Do you see any changes going into the Preston game?
I expect Sakamoto to be fit and back in the side, probably at the expense of Tavares. I think you've got to bear in mind we've got a game on Monday against Maidstone in the Cup, so I would think there'll probably be more changes than I would. I'm terrible at predicting changes. Mark Robbins always goes a bit left field with his selection. I think Brad Collins will probably come back into the side as goalkeeper.
Do you? Not Ben Wilson since he kept a clean sheet?
Well, but then I'm not being funny. I could have been in goal against Stoke and I kept a clean sheet, really, because the only shot there on target, I think anyone sitting in this room would have saved it, really, in all honesty. So it's not a slight on Ben Wilson. I think he'll bring Wilson back for the cup match. That's just my opinion. So I'd bring Brad. I'm not saying Ben Wilson is a bad keeper. He didn't do anything wrong in that Stoke game, but I would expect Brad Collins to come back. I would expect Jake Bidwell to come back into the team. I want to see our stronger team, because for me the priority is getting the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, if the shock happens, we lost the FA Cup. Okay, it's terrible, but at the end of the day, it's the league that matters. Really, it's getting back to the Premier League. The FA Cup is nice, but the league for me is the priority, the bread and butter. So Jake Bidwell will come into the team. I think the only slight contentious one is what I would possibly do is I would probably move De Silva to. I think I'd probably move De Silva to a left sort of midfield kind of role, and maybe bring Haji Wright starting on the bench, and then maybe Haji Wright starts the Maidstone game. Or we could go the other way around, but I'd probably go with De Silva on this one. Okay. So there's about 3 or 4 changes I would make for this game. So I think Ellis Sims to me should be starting as a striker. I think he's been playing quite well for us. So I'll be disappointed if he gets rested, because I think he needs some games under his belt. So I'll definitely start him. But Talk, as you mentioned, he had a calf injury, and Obviously, don't know what the prognosis is about that one, but it'd be nice if we can get him to start because he's been playing really well for us. So hopefully we can see him play on Friday.
Yeah. Any changes at the back? What? Because obviously Binks came in as well. Would you bring Kitchen back?
Again, it's probably. I think Robbins will possibly play one game, one of the other game. So I don't think Binks did much wrong from what I saw the Stoke game. So probably he'll keep Binks, and I'll say Kitchen will come back for the Maidstone game. But that's just purely because he wants to. We're playing so many games in a short space of time that Robbins has to assess the fitness of players. Obviously we've then got West Brom away the following Friday, so we've actually got 3 games in a week, haven't we? So you can't. I think he'll just mix and match, and then I think he'll play a different side for Maidstone because we haven't got a big squad, as you know, and there'll be some players he might have to play 2 games, so it's going to be it's definitely a massive test of our squad, but given the fact that we've lost Ben Sheaf and potentially Torp as well.
Yeah, our squad is definitely being tested. In regards to Preston, Ollie, obviously I've mentioned Dwayne Holmes, who's out injured. Brad Potts, I believe he's injured as well. Would he feature at all? Is there any other injuries or suspensions that we need to be aware of?
No, so Brad Potts will be out for 6 to 8 weeks, so he'll miss the Coventry game, which is a massive blow, seeing as he's our only right wing back at the club.
Okay.
So I put a poll out there trying to ask North End fans, because obviously the past 2 games we've put Liam Miller out on the right wing back and played Robbie Brady at left wing back. But, one of our best players in Liam Miller, he's not really being able to affect the game as much as he can do. So for me, we've got to find a way to get Liam Miller back out at left wing back. So it's going to be a decision that's needing to make whether or not we, try to play Robbie Brady, a left-footed player at right wing back, or you have to move someone like Alan Brown out there, a centre midfielder who's played right wing back for his country, or potentially take a punt on one of the young lads who hasn't even who's only really played in the Carabao Cup, and that's in Josh Sheary. But it's a decision that will have to be made by Ryan Lowe. But it's a big loss if you're losing your only designated right wing back who can play that position properly against a team.
Sorry, mate. Would you say that was an area where we could potentially target down that side?
I'd fully expect Robbins to try to exploit the right wing back. So whoever you have on the left, I know you mentioned Josh De Silva in the left midfield there, Mark. I'd expect a lot of Coventry's game plan, if they were trying to exploit it, to go down the left, potentially to see, just probably to test the waters, to see how it goes about. So, we'll see how it is. It's worked out okay so far with Miller at right wing back and Brady at left wing back. But for me, we've got to find a way to get Miller back into his more effective position. Whether he does that or not, or he just tries to consolidate the way that we've been playing. We've won and we've picked up a draw, so 4 points out of the last 6. With obviously, Brady and left wing back and Miller right wing back. May stick to the same, especially because Coventry are a good side. But for me, we've got to find a way of getting our best players in their best positions. So we may see someone like Brown out there, or maybe a punt on Seary, but I very much doubt it.
Okay, well, that's interesting, Mark, isn't it, really, for us? Because, Casey could come into that role and we could exploit that right-hand side for them with Casey, or even right, really. So that's good. Any other questions for Ollie?
Not a question, but I think for me, Liam Miller for me is the biggest threat from their point of view, because I think he's very quick. He can beat players in cross balls. For me, I think we've got to keep a real close eye on him, particularly from what I've seen of him. I think he's a real threat for this game, which is why I would try and. That's why it's important that if, say, Sakamoto comes to the team, his job is not just to attack, but also to defend and to help out Van Ivak at the back. Try and double up a bit on Miller, and don't give him space and time on the ball, because he is dangerous particularly on the counter attack. So I think that's something we have to be mindful of this game. I think from what Ollie's been going on about with Potts being injured, I think you might consider a Hadji Wright, someone who can run at their defenders, and I think that's something I think we've got to try and exploit. I did mention Jada Silva, but I'd be quite happy whoever he goes with, because I think we've got enough talent in that area to really cause some problems. If we get the opportunity to, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Ollie, has your expectations changed? What were they at the start of the season, and have they changed now?
To be fair to you, Stuart, not really. We are where we are. As a North End fan, you don't really have many expectations, so I try to keep my expectations low. So anything joyous is always a positive. To be fair, if you asked me this 5 games ago, I'd have expected us being pulled into relegation battle. We were that poor.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not expecting much. I don't expect us to be pulled into the playoff push. I don't expect us to be pulled into the relegation battle. I just expect us to, be in our nice little homely mid-table where we always are every single season. No progression, no regression. We're just here. That's what Preston North End are. And then, we probably go again next season. But I do have to say, this is probably the best squad we've had at North End for quite some time. In terms of, the final third, because usually North End we couldn't score for absolute gravy. So, as I mentioned before, if you manage to fix a few holes in the back line where we are conceding goals, and you manage to get Liam Miller on a permanent potentially, I'm not too sure if that's going to be if you're able to do that. But you've got some players up there like, as I mentioned, Frocky Jensen. You've got Emil Rees, who's come back in great form. You've got Will Keane, who, albeit he's 30, he still scores plenty of goals. We've got a good core of players in the final third, and if you're able to fix up the one or two weakest links, where could you potentially be next season? But I just think this season's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, obviously, me and Mark have both mentioned players. Do you watch many of the teams, or do you kind of focus on Preston?
No.
Where do you see the threats from us?
I'm scared about Casey Palmer.
Okay.
If you end up he's one of those players. If you end up giving him a ball, he's going to cause you some real problems. If you allow, the thing is with Casey Palmer, he's quite a lot. I've watched him a few times. When he's on it, he's the best player on the pitch by some margin. So, if you're allowing a player like Casey Palmer to have time on the ball, if you're allowing him to, pull the strings, then, it's only going to really go one way, the result. So, for me, Casey Palmer's one we really need to look at. But to be fair, you've got a fantastic core. You've got, O'Hare, who's fantastic in the 10. He's able to receive the ball in between the lines. He's quick, nimble, and we really need to subdue your midfield, because if you end up winning the midfield battle, I fully expect Coventry to go on and win. So we'll just have to wait and see how we try to nullify it. But I'm not best looking forward to seeing Casey Palmer or O'Hare try and exploit our back line, because it's not going to be looking good.
Yeah, obviously, as you mentioned, when Casey's on it, he is one of the best players on the pitch. It's just whether how much he turns up, really. Yeah, definitely. Mark, any other questions?
I suppose the only question I've got for Ollie is, where do you expect Preston to end up this season? Where you are roughly at the moment, or do you think you might tail off?
I can. If I'll probably say the same every season. at the moment for the past couple of seasons. I fully expect North End to be sitting between 8th and 14th. It's always that little divide of where you're not looking like you got to do much, but you're also not falling down anywhere. North End notoriously have been within the market. It's just, do I feel like what do we need to be able to push on from that is probably the next point of call. And we've got players like, as you mentioned, Liam Miller is a fantastic player, but we don't have anyone on a permanent. So it's great because North End have brought in fantastic loanees in Cameron Archer, Tom Cannon, and now Liam Miller. None of them permanent, and they've shown you that if you have one or two Cameron Archers, one or two Tom Cannons, one or two Liam Millers, where could you be? I mean, if you put someone like Liam Miller into Coventry side, I'd fully expect them to be, I'd probably push you up a few places. To be fair, that's how much effect a player has on them. So, it totally depends on what you're able to bring in. I think Coventry have done it fantastically. Bringing in Gyökeres has properly solidified how you're able to, bring in signings. You've done it well. You've exploited the foreign markets probably before. You brought in some great players as well. So, I think North End and Coventry are probably in the same boat. We probably just need a one or two more to push us over the final line. Yeah. Whether that's it's this season, I'm not too sure for both of us. But next season, if you're able to keep the main set of players that you currently have and add to that, then it's only going to be going upwards for Coventry, especially rather than just North End.
Yeah, definitely. It will be interesting. Can I get a prediction out of you? Are you 1-4 predictions or not?
I'm a big one on predictions, actually. Not many times it goes right. I'll always give one. I usually always give 2. I give a head and a heart.
Okay.
My heart is obviously going to go a 2-1 P&E win. But my head is obviously going to be a lot more realistic. I can see it probably going the other way. I'm probably going a 2-1 Coventry in my head. It's going to be a tight affair for me. It's either going to go either way. With my heart, I can just see Emil Reese wheeling off, towards the away from. But within my head, I can see Casey Palmer having the game of his life. So, it is what it is. It can go one or either ways, but I'd probably realistically say it'll just nick it for Coventry.
Okay, well, I'll take the latter most definitely. Mark, are you going to sit on the fence as always, or are you going to give us a prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the fence. I did say on Sunday's show 2-2, so I'm not going to change from that. And usually I'm wrong because Coventry usually win, and I say that. So I'm going to be superstitious and go for a 2-2 draw.
I'll take it. As Ollie said, it's never an easy game for both teams. They both battle it out really, really well. I think it will be a close game. I would like us to keep another clean sheet. That would be the icing on the cake. So I am going to go for a 1-0 City. I think we'll just nick it. But it's whether the players have got Maidstone on their minds as well. That's the issue that we've got. So any questions before we finish off with a quick fire, Mark?
No, nothing from me. No.
Fantastic. So, quick fire questions then. 4 or 5 different ones. 1-worded answers or a couple of worded answers, just as quick as you can. Doesn't have to be too quick. I'm not strict or anything, so don't worry. So the first one is Deepdale.
Home.
Okay. Ryan Lowe.
Oh,
I know I said it didn't have to be quick, but a little bit quicker.
It's hard to find the words.
Divisive.
One-dimensional.
Oh, okay. Favourite away ground?
Ooh. Favourite away ground I've been to. Weirdly, I quite like the Hawthorns.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Only because they're in the same league as us, I should say. Blackburn.
Underachievers.
Okay. That was nice and diplomatic, that was, because I'm sure you could have said a lot worse.
Well, it's not.
If you asked me the question about Blackpool, it may have been a different question, a different answer.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my one, to be fair, but I like to do the ones that are in the same league. So,
yeah.
Player of the season so far?
Liam Miller.
Okay, cool. That was it. See, not too hard. That was all right.
I got stuck on the Ryan Lowe one. I don't know why. I was trying to say a nice one after the past 5 games because usually it's been quite negative, so I had to give it to him.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I was expecting myself to just say a couple more words. I've got one in the back of my mind for all Coventry fans for Friday night. Watch out for number 10.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Right, so thank you very much. Much appreciated you coming on, Ollie. If you can just let us know again where we can find you and what you guys do.
Yeah, of course. So mainly on Twitter, on obviously all your favourite streaming sites, so Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, the Butt Pipe Podcast. Obviously, I've loved being on this podcast here. If we end up losing, you'll probably hear some salty remarks on our new episode that'll be out probably Monday or Tuesday. So if you do end up winning, Coventry fans, have a pop over and see how salty we can be. But yeah, on all nice streaming sites and on Twitter as well, if you wanted to give us a follow.
Fantastic. When we finish streaming, don't shoot off and we'll have a quick chat afterwards as well. Right, so that's it. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ollie, for joining us as well. Just remember where you can find us, guys. Spotify, Amazon, iTunes for the podcasts, YouTube for the videos. Please go and like and subscribe. We're not far away. We are on X. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well. Please go and like and subscribe to everything that we do. There is some really good videos on there as well. We've just done the full Frank Musa video is now out. Please go and have a look at that. And on podcasts, as a special podcast, I've done an interview with Hannah Kumari, who's a brilliant director, writer. She does everything. And she's just joined the FSA family. So, yeah, go and have a look at that interview as well. That's really, really good. Once again, thank you both very much for joining me. Good luck for the rest of the season, apart from Friday. Ollie?
Yeah, cheers, you too.
Thank you very much. Play up Sky Blues.
Play up Sky Blues.